Strap on your roller skates because today we're learning about Christmas traditions as we decorate this cake. There's a tradition in Venezuela where crowds of people head to church on Christmas Eve on roller skates. It's so popular, the city has to close streets down in order to ensure safety. This sounds like a fun tradition. Hi friends, my name is Sherry Ray, and this is Every Cake Tells a Story, where we learn how to decorate together and love others through cake art. Because as I decorate, we'll get to know the story behind this cake and its dedication. Today's cake is dedicated to some friends who share their favorite Christmas traditions with us. But sorry, there are no roller skates in any of these traditions. I guess we'll have to put them away again. All right, let's go learn how to make this cake and spread some love like icing.
Even though today's cake is beautiful and elegant, it will be an easier design. I'm going to do something which seems really weird. I'm going to cover it with a really thin layer of shortening. This will give it a nice shine, but more importantly, it will help hold my stencil in place. I'm making a fondant stain by mixing half teaspoon shortening with half teaspoon petal dust. I've got Sweet Sticks Pearl White today. I thought it would give it a beautiful shimmery glint. Then it's back to the cake to work on the stencil. I cut it out with my Cricut Maker earlier. I'm going to pin it down, but only the bottom, because I'll be covering that with a border later, and I don't want those holes showing. I love challenging myself and trying new cake techniques. This is one of them. But you gotta know, I always test my colors on a small piece of fondant before moving to the cake. You bet I did it here, because I wasn't sure if a light color going onto a darker fondant would work. I tested the stain technique, straight petal dust, a pearl white paint, and finally adding petal dust on top of the stain. The stain worked, but I wasn't sure if it would translate to the whole picture. You know, color swatch versus reality.
I love Christmas traditions, so much so that I have ours written in a book. When the kids were little and we were establishing our traditions, I did not want to forget them year after year, so I wrote them down. For me, traditions bind our family together. I love Christmas traditions so much that I put out a call to my friends asking for their favorites, and we're going to take a peek into their houses to hear about their traditions. We're going to visit my friend Marsha first. We've been friends for years. Marsha wanted her kids to be able to experience the fun and the excitement that Santa brings, but she didn't want to take away from the focus of the birth of Jesus, so they figured out a way to balance both of them. The whole family goes to church on Christmas Eve, and then when they get home, they invite neighbors and family friends over for a birthday celebration. They all gather around, they sing happy birthday to Jesus, and they all enjoy birthday cake. Now years have gone by, the grandbabies have started arriving, and they too come to Grandma's house for the birthday celebration.
Then I need to wipe it all away and see how the stain worked. Let's take a peek. It worked! It's so cool! But it isn't quite as bright as I want. Because of the earlier testing, I know that it will brighten up again if I go over it with straight petal dust. Because I didn't end up with the stained look I was going for, I'm pretty sure I could have just put shortening on the cake and brushed the petal dust on top. I think the staining ended up being a whole extra step. You can be sure I'll try this again in the future with a light fondant base.
Let's head over to AmyJo's next. AmyJo was one of my closest friends growing up, and we've known each other since elementary school. In AmyJo's house, everybody gets new PJs for Christmas Eve, and they spend the entire next day in those PJs. They've already had the traditional Christmas meal with extended family, so on Christmas Day, they have personal homemade pizzas. Everybody gets busy together in the kitchen working on it. They all have their own 12-inch pizza pan and rolling pin. There's a smorgasbord of toppings for everybody to choose from. And while the pizza's in the oven, they play a new family board game.
Now let's see what it looks like. So cool! I love it! Clean up one little smudge. Let's make the border for the bottom now. I start preparing my fondant by kneading it. This is one of the most important steps in working with fondant because it makes it pliable and elastic. Time to roll it out. To keep it from sticking to my surface, I can sprinkle on cornstarch or powdered sugar, or even grease it with shortening. One of the keys to rolling fondant out is to lift and turn it every once in a while. This helps it to not stick to the surface too. I'm too short though. I'd never reach the other end of this strip if I turned it, so I just scooted over a bit. As I go, I also run my hand over the fondant. I'm feeling the thickness to see if it's consistent or if it's as thin as I want. I have a ribbon cutter that is great because I can adjust the width easily. It's not so great because it comes unscrewed as I go. However, Wilton has released a new one and it looks like it may have fixed the issue. Oh boy, that's nice and easy. Slide it in place. Add a bit of water to glue it down and trim the end and the border is complete. I'm going for a present look, so I'll do that again and drape it over the top. See how nice this ribbon cutter is? I quickly adjusted it so now I can get 3 strips in one go.
Let me introduce you to my friend James. We had the longest history together because even our dads grew up together and they were trouble. Capital T kind of trouble. Stay out of the way. James was one of my best friends growing up, and his tradition also has the longest history because he and his sisters would get pajamas on Christmas Eve, and then on Christmas morning they would still be in their nice new PJs and they would all be in the living room ripping into their Christmas presents together. James has taken that tradition into his own family, but now they all get matching PJs. His kids are such sweet, cute little balls of energy, and they get so excited that everybody matches. They're so sweet.
Let's make the big gift bow now. I start by kneading 1 teaspoon Tylose powder, or CMC, to 500 grams of fondant. I've only recently started using CMC. In the past, I would have made my design element a day or 2 ahead of time and put them in the oven with the light on to dry. I've cut a bunch of ribbon strips because it's time to start the gift bow assembly line. I'll be making 3 different sizes of loops, 4, 5, and 6 inches. I glue them together in loops, then cut the tips down a bit. And finally, open up the loop and allow it to dry on its side so it doesn't close again. Let's jump to a better assembly line configuration.
Let's pop over to my dear friend Catherine's, who I've known for over a decade. They have the opposite approach to Christmas traditions because they have very few, but the family finds that so freeing because they get to decide together what they're going to do each year. However, they have one tradition that has lasted the test of time. They set up a nativity scene on their coffee table every year, and someone is playing with it or moving the pieces every day, even if it means moving it out of the way and then resetting it again. When the kids were little, Catherine would wrap up a new animal for their nativity scene and leave it on the kids' beds for Christmas morning. After a few years, they realized they had enough animals in their nativity set, so now they set up what they already own.
The loops are all done. I'll quickly wrap some fondant around the bottom of the candle to adhere it to the cake. Now let's get this gift bow in place, 1 row at a time. I position the whole row, then go back and add a tiny bit of water where it rests on the cake to glue it in place.
I gotta share one of our favorite Christmas traditions too. On Christmas morning, before the kids wake up, we sneak on down to turn the Christmas lights on and start some hot water for coffee, tea, and hot chocolate. When they wake up, we all grab our drinks, we grab our stockings, and we head back to my bedroom because we pile on the bed and open the stockings together. It's been such a fun way to start off the day.
I add 1 more row on top and it's done. Let's take a closer look at the completed cake. The vision for this cake comes from one of our traditions as well. Our family loves going to the Christmas Eve candlelight service. I have this memory of everyone holding candles and singing Silent Night, so I translated that into a cake.
We've had a fun peek into some special family time today. I love hearing other people's Christmas traditions because sometimes we adopt them. My husband Scott and I first heard about the Christmas PJs about a decade ago, and we've been doing it ever since. We also have another tradition we absolutely love, so I'm gonna add that in the comment section, but I wanna hear yours, so will you add it as well? I told you that James's dad and my dad grew up together and they caused all kinds of mischief. Well, click right here and I'll introduce you to my dad, a reformed hooligan turned hero. Bye, friends.